Good afternoon, everyone. Are we all ready, set to go? Am I audible? Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Indian High Commission, let me, to begin with, extend a very warm welcome to each and every one of you, members of the Indian Business Forum, and thank you all for making time to join us at such short notice to have this special interaction with Honorable External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar. As you know, Honorable Minister is here in Kenya for the third meeting of the India-Kenya Joint Commission, co-chaired with CS Foreign Affairs Ambassador Omamo. You also know that this visit at the level of External Affairs Minister to Kenya happens after long 10 years, and that makes this visit extra special. So thank you very much for joining this virtual event. In the Joint Commission, trade and economic engagement between India and Kenya happens to be a major thrust area in the larger menu of our bilateral cooperation, and the meeting happens tomorrow. Honorable Minister is going to have a detailed discussion on a wide variety of areas, including economic areas, tomorrow, but we are very happy that you are able to join us today. And the format of today's interaction, very briefly, I'll tell you, Honorable Minister is going to give his opening remarks, and after that, I'll invite some of the members individually so that you also could share with us your thoughts, your expectations, your aspirations, even your anxieties as you carry forward India-Kenya business cooperation, representing Indian businesses on the Kenyan soil. With these words, allow me to welcome Honorable Minister. It's a huge privilege for us to have you here and for this virtual meeting. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, High Commissioner, and it's a real pleasure to meet all of you. Of course, the pleasure would have been greater had we met physically, but I think in the current circumstances, you will understand that perhaps this is a better way of interacting. As the High Commissioner explained, we have a joint commission coming up tomorrow, and the business part of our relationship would be very much under discussion. So I think it's very timely that I'm actually talking to you all today, and I certainly look forward to listening to you, hearing your concerns, what you believe should be factored into our discussions tomorrow. Now, I want to say very sort of upfront that we think of it as a very important relationship. Partly, especially with Kenya, I think we have a very, very long tradition of societal contacts and business dealings. We are the second largest investor in the Kenyan economy, and our trade is also quite substantial. It's more than $2 billion, and it has, at least in recent years, shown strong signs of growing further. Now, I note that we actually have been present in different domains of economic activity here for a long time. I see that when it comes to insurance, actually we were here, in fact, even before Kenya's independence. When it comes to banking, I think Bank of Baroda started as early as 1953. I think Bank of India came in a few years after that. We are here in telecom. We are here in auto. All the major players in India are here. We have a big soda ash operation. Agribusiness is there. Again, looking at the list, I can see many of our major pharma players are here. And our exports in pharma alone is more than $200 million. I also note fairly substantial medical travel to India. That's something which clearly has its own business potential. There's the FMCG side, and there is, of course, the real estate, construction, infra projects, IT. So pretty much I see a representative sample of Indian business when I look at all of you on the screen. So that then brings me really to the question which I pose to you, because this is a question I will have to answer tomorrow as I get into the Joint Commission, which is, where do we take the relationship from here? Now, one obvious answer is, of course, to align our business focus on the priorities of the local partner. Now, that's something, especially in Africa, we've tried to do. And I see that in Kenya, they speak of the Big Four agenda, that manufacturing, housing, health, and food are 4 areas. I think there's an invisible fifth player, which is whichever sector you look at, anything which actually adds substantively to employment, I would regard as a Big Four plus one sort of basis of interaction here. And the sensible thing, obviously, is to align both as a government and as a business to the priorities of the Kenyan government. Now, while that is easy to say, I think what is complicated matters, of course, is the impact of the COVID. As many of you know, there is a pretty widespread debt suspension sort of practice, which is now in prevalent, especially in respect of African economies. So there are some challenges which are going to arise from that where lines of credit are concerned. There is a great deal of interest both on our side, and I suspect I will see that on the Kenyan side as well, on looking at the SME areas. And clearly, in a post-COVID world, I think health has an importance. I mean, health in the broader sense of the term, pharmaceuticals, vaccine, medical, travel, health services of any kind, all of those clearly acquire a new salience. Now, tomorrow at the Joint Commission, we are going to be doing a stock taking of the relationship. We're looking at trade and investment, at tourism, at health, at energy, especially solar energy, defense, looking at development assistance, because I think we see clearly here that the Rivertex project has a sort of considerable resonance in Kenya. And as I said, on the SME side and the people-to-people contact side. I will also be, before the Joint Commission, doing a ministers' roundtable where I would hope to meet with the ministers of ICT, of trade, of defense, of health, and possibly a few others. I am given to understand by the High Commissioner that there are problems which industry faces. I know our auto companies face some issues. That's one subject I would like to know a little bit more from you. Moving on, after my visit, certainly we expect to do the joint trade committee meeting. It was met 3 years ago, and we feel it's something we need to do. So here, in a sense, let me really conclude with 2 messages from my side to all of you. One, I want you to really appreciate that as a government, we are there for you. You have, your activities create employment in India. Clearly we have a strong interest in supporting exports, in facilitating investments, and in many ways your problems are our problems. The larger picture, though, of course, is that your activities, our activities are part of a larger African strategy that we have, and we think here that Kenya has all the possibilities of being a hub, especially for East Africa. So whether it's the EASC or the free trade, the African Free Trade Agreement, there are openings here because it is a place which is relatively speaking very attractive in terms of ease of business. So we certainly would want you to think in a broader way, because that would again fit very much into the approach with which we are looking at Africa. So why don't I stop there, and maybe, High Commissioner, we can open it up. I'd like to hear some of the concerns and issues that people have, because I truly believe that would make for a better engagement tomorrow with the Kenyan government.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your initial thoughts and reflections, and also some broad guidance on the way forward. What we have planned is that I'll invite some individual members of the forum to come forward with your suggestions and your comments to make the best use of the limited time available to us. What we do is I'll just invite one after the other, and then we'll request Honorable Minister to react to your comments, your questions, and your thoughts and suggestions in one go. And if we need a second round, we'll go for it. But please, my request is that please be short and precise. So the first member of the forum that I would invite for comments is Mr. Parthiv Mehta, representing Landmark Pharmaceuticals. Over to you, Parthiv.
Namaskar, good afternoon, sir. I will be very short and precise. We, being in the pharmaceutical industry, we contribute quite major in terms of hair importation, and we add a lot of value to this part of the world by providing affordable medicines. My point here is that the next level of value chain where we go up, how can we add a significant role in terms of capacity building, in terms of pharmaceuticals or healthcare? What role that we can provide in terms of the Africa space for this, and add value and not get perceived as affordable medicine provider only, but a quality medicine provider, and subsequently we also raise a value chain in terms of the capacity building.
Thank you, Parthiv. May I now invite Mr. Prasanta Das Sarma, representing Airtel, and could you please brief us briefly on Airtel operations, your experience, and in the telecom sector, how could we do things better and more? Mr. Sarma, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, dear Honorable Minister. Good afternoon, Indian High Commissioner. Just briefly, I just want to touch upon two things. One is we are part of Airtel Africa and started operation in 2010. Till now, we have made almost. We started in 15 countries, and today we are in 14 countries, having 120 million subscribers. So, if I see that the way we are connected with the lives of Africa, we see a tremendous progress, growth opportunity, and that's what we are doing. In terms of building a solid relationship, I think government to government discussion, especially around regulations, will help. That's what from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Sarma. I would like to invite now Mr. Suhail Sharma, representing L&T. If you could share with us your thoughts on infrastructure development in Kenya and the role of Indian infrastructure development companies here. Mr. Sharma, please.
Good afternoon, sir. We welcome you to Kenya. I am representing Larsen and Toubro. There are other partners also who are with us. There is Mr. Rahul Sukka, who's heading Africa. They're all from Larsen and Toubro. There is Mr. Raja Manikam, and there is Aditya Basak. I am more in charge for the infrastructure, that is specifically roads, railways, airports, So the Indian Exim Bank is already present in Kenya. In fact, one of the projects of our power transmission is being funded by them. Since I am more for the roads, so I would expect and I would request that the Exim Bank, through their lines of credit, should look for major funded projects, especially in the sectors of roads and railways. Currently, these sectors are dominated by the Chinese. There are a few projects where Kenya is looking for funding, and it would be good that if somehow India could come and fund these projects. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Suhelji. Now I would invite Dr. PVS Rao, representing Alpha Rama, who is dealing with the export of leather products from India to Kenya. Dr. Rao, over to you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, Honorable Minister. First of all, Karibu Kenya, welcome to Kenya. It's a great honor to all of us. And first of all, would like to thank the External Affairs Minister. First of all, appointing in the last 10 years one of the best ambassadors I have seen in the 40 years. I think that is since our Prime Minister Modi visit to Africa. Your Excellency, that we are in the leather sector, a leading player in Africa, not only in East Africa. As you all know that leather sector is a very vibrant and very important sector in India. Today, I think we have a $20 billion business. And I think in Africa today, we have no manufacturing facilities on footwear and leather goods and associated leather products. As you know that the African Free Trade Agreement and East African Community market itself is so huge. There's a huge potential for the Indian technology, transfer of technology to the African leather industry development. I think in the past we have discussed this. We need a strong, relationships between India and Kenya. We have the capacity, so we request you to look into the sector very seriously, because this will create a lot of employment in Africa. So, and also, as you said, that healthcare, we are also diversifying. Many of us are trying to diversify into different sectors. So we are all looking into health sector, and we need your support. So thank you so much, and enjoy your stay in Kenya. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Now, Mr. Kamal Rohira, representing Tata Africa Holdings. I invite you, Kamal, to say a few words about your representation here, focusing more on the auto sector, what we are doing and what more could be done. Kamal.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, His Excellency, and thanks for this opportunity today. I represent Tata Africa Holding Kenya Limited. We are basically into the distribution of Tata Motors commercial vehicles in Kenya. The company here was incorporated in 2006, so we have been doing this business for last 17 years now. The business size what we are doing presently is close to $50 million per annum. I would like to have here a small request or suggestion that, like, India is now becoming a hub for electric vehicle manufacturing from commercial vehicle side. The electric buses in India is quite significant, rapidly expanding into the multiple cities. Kenya government is presently also exploring the feasibility of putting the electric buses in Kenya in public transport system. So there is a good opportunity if both the governments can come forward and have a discussion. It can really help us to bring the Indian electric bus technology into the Kenya, and it is a focus point presently in Kenya because it can reduce the carbon emission, air pollution, apart from having all other benefits. So this point from our side, if it can be taken. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamal. May I now invite Nishant Pahuja, representing UPL, offering details of various aspects of agriculture-based value chain. Nishant?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to Kenya, Honorable Minister. So I represent UPL. We have a sizable operation here in Kenya and Africa, doing large, you can say, variety of products for agriculture. We wish to replicate the model which we have done in Brazil and other LATAM countries, where like the partners we have in the country, they are looking for market access to India. Today, like the line of credit or finance is not so big issue for investment in agriculture, but people are looking for market access. So what I feel is like how private companies from India, government can work together, close the loop, because if you see in Kenya, there will be a lot of avocado coming, lot of mango coming. They are investing in coffee, but they are looking for a good stable market where India can import such produce. So I request like we can work on a closed loop mechanism where investment can come from private companies, but offtake can be also aligned together. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishant. May I now request Abhishek Rana to give your comments on the possibilities of exports of coffee from India to Kenya. Your thoughts are very interesting. I personally know, but in a little more detail, because coffee happens to be one of the most important export items from Kenya to the rest of the world. But your company is encouraging exports of coffee from India to Kenya. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Dr. Virander Paul, Ambassador. Welcome back, Honorable Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar ji. It was a very pleasant meeting during the last visit to Kenya during the 50 summit in Kempinski, and it's my honor to interact with you as a EAM of India. As Ambassador mentioned about the coffee, I represent Indus Coffee Private Limited, which is having a FDI from Singapore with 100 million USD plus investment in Nairobi district in Andhra Pradesh. We are having 2 operational plants, and as a matter of fact, India is the third largest exporter and the producer in Asia, and the 5th largest exporter in the world. And 70% of the production is India is exporting currently to the world. So as a company, we are also exporting worldwide, and as a regional office in Africa and Kenya, I am looking after the African business. So sir, my request to the Honorable Minister, as India is doing great in the agri-processing products, can it be some bilateral treaties, Africa in particular and TAC in general, because India is also importing a lot of raw material from this part of the world. As Nishant has also mentioned, there is a good coffee producing from this TAC region. So Indian exports can be competitive, and we can also enhance the Indian exporters' capabilities to access the African markets, which I feel it's one of the emerging markets in the world, and the world is looking forward to Africa. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek. For the present, before I invite Honorable Minister for responding to your comments and presentations, just one last for the present round. Mr. Ajay Anand, representing Shapurji Palanji Limited, to give brief comments on infrastructure development in Kenya, your activities and the potential in this important area. Ajay?
Yeah, good afternoon, Honorable Minister. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, Honorable Minister Jaishankar ji and Your Excellency, welcome to Kenya. Just a small request on line of credit for the hospital sectors. Of late, we have been seeing that Kenya is more inclined towards China for funding, and there are certain projects that were there in the hospital sector, and that being one of the part of the Big Four agenda. I think at an engagement at your level, there is a police hospital that was being proposed, and it has stalled. There's a military hospital also, which is about $200 million, which is being controlled engagement to the Chinese. So I think, sir, at your level, even if you could pass a word on to His Excellency the President, that they should be looking funding at other options, and especially the hospital sector is something that we would like to pursue at your level, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Anand. Thank you to all of you who made presentations and asked questions and gave suggestions. May I now invite the Honorable Minister to kindly react to your comments. So.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I think it was interesting getting your sense of what the possibilities here are. So let me start with the pharma sector, because that's what Mr. Mehta raised initially. Look, I completely get it that we today want to be perceived as people who do more than just affordable medicines. So the emphasis on being seen as a quality provider and going up the value chain is something which is also very much in our own mind. I mean, among the other things, various things we're doing, of course, is we've inquired from the Kenyans whether they'd be willing to recognize Indian pharmacopoeia, because that might be helpful to some degree. But my sense is COVID and the consequences of COVID have really have created two opportunities. Okay, opportunity one, that the world is today worrying about the health and medicines and drugs beyond vaccines. It's not just vaccines that they're looking at, and there is a scaled up demand. I mean, if you take even in India, which I think all of you from the pharma industry would know, that the pharma industry has actually been an overdrive in India, because there's a spike in the demand for pharmaceuticals in the last year and a half. So global demand's actually going to go up. The second, and this is not an issue limited to Kenya, but it is very much part of an Africa issue as well. Supply chains have been disrupted in the last year and a half. Supply chains have been disrupted not just because, let us say, there's been a tightness in the API market because demand has gone up, but logistics, when airports close down, when airlines don't fly, when ships don't move. So I think in a number of areas, especially in health, there's a much greater willingness to look at a decentralized global production. One of the things which I hear from African countries, not just Kenya, is an interest in seeing production move to Africa. In some ways, Africa would feel more secure. And I think there are players in the world also who are thinking, global players, Western players as well, who are thinking along similar lines. So I would say it would be interesting for us because at the moment, of course, a lot of my own interactions with the pharmaceutical side are specifically centered on vaccines. But I would certainly like to hear from industry, what is it we can do to facilitate at the end of the day, more production in Africa today makes sense to us if we get more market access. So we're not distributing production for the sake of being diversified. I mean, the bottom lines have to improve out there. The bottom lines have to drive it actually. So if I could perhaps get at some point through the High Commissioner a sense of what is it you would specifically like us to take up with the Kenyan government. It has to be a specific ask. This ask will be tabled when we do the joint trade committee. Okay, so we probably have a few months, not more than that. So do follow up there. On the telecom side, of course, I'm reasonably conversant with the challenges which Airtel has faced in Africa, but at the same time we are quite. I think we do see you as the most effective player that, in fact, frankly, as de facto the main player that we have here. On where L&T's observation on the road and rail projects are concerned, yes, we are interested in that. We would definitely be open to looking at road and rail projects. We are looking at it in some other geographies as well. The only immediate wrinkle that I see will be the debt suspension issue, because it's going to be problematic to extend new lines of credit if there is actually a suspension on repayment of existing lines of credit. So that will be a policy challenge which we'll have to address. It's not a Kenya-based challenge. It is a broader challenge that we'll have to look at. But again, that's something which may delay things a little bit here and there. I would still say that if there are road and rail projects, just like you have business challenges, let me tell you what our challenge is in the government. We are constantly on a hunt to look for good projects. And believe me, good projects are not that easy to come by. So to the extent you can do the diligence for what you believe are viable projects which would appeal to the priorities, which would align with the priorities of our partner countries, it would be greatly helpful in our decision making. I'll just jump a bit. I'll come to Shapurji Palanji because it's a related issue, and then I'll come back to the other ones. Look, where hospitals are concerned, we have funded hospital building in different countries. Frankly, it hasn't been a great experience. One of the problems we've had is building the bricks and mortar part of the hospital has been run autonomously of actually, shall I say, equipping the hospital. And we've had big gaps where, one part of it is done and the other part of it is not done. So I think in a sense, how to integrate that hospital operation is something that we will have to look at, which really means you need a hospital operator somewhere in the equation. It is not enough to make a hospital and hand it over, because our experience is it often stays in that handed over status. If I can come back to the leather issue, again, yes, I totally agree. I think the leather industry has a big employment possibility. Just as I also agree that health has a possibility. But here again, the question for us is, what is the role you would like us to come in? Are there projects you would like us to support? Is there are there skills? Do you want people? Because we do a lot of training, okay? In the last 5 years, from Africa alone, we've provided between training and education 40,000 slots which have been used. Training alone, we take about 400, maybe more, 400, 500 Kenyans every year. So if you can drill this down to a specific ask, I would be interested in looking at it. Regarding the EV possibility, especially buses, I think as the transport side of the industry here knows, we have actually been very supportive for many, many decades now of facilitating market access in foreign markets using lines of credit. And probably the sector which has used it most effectively is the commercial vehicles sector. So this would be an extrapolation of what we are doing. I think if there are real possibilities there, we would be very open to looking at it, because we also, for reasons of I would say establishing ourselves as a player, it's important for us to go take EVs, including buses, beyond our national shores. On the agro business, what UPL raised, look, we have, and in a sense the coffee broadly falls in a related category. The Kenyan side's keen to enter into discussions with us on SPS requirement because they do see export possibilities to India. Now, in life, you all know better than me, I mean, there's a lot of give and take. I mean, nobody sensible would export while being close to imports. I mean, real life doesn't work that way. It's in our own interest. If we want to keep Kenya more and more open for our products, to also find ways by which they are invested in our market. So I would again, how to do that closed loop, which was the word which was used. The closed loop is the business has to do. The government has to remove the impediments for the closure of the loop. And that's something, in fact, I expect them to raise tomorrow. And we will certainly look at it with a very open mind. But I make this point to you, while of course naturally my interest and your interest is primarily in exporting out of India, I think we should also have an open mind and a supportive stance when it comes to Kenyan exports to India as well. So I do note these points. Let me see in what form they come up tomorrow, but I will certainly flag it to our Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyalji, so that I think he can kind of process that more. I saw in the chat room there is some remarks which came up, right? Should we take it on? Yeah. Could you just read it out to me? Or could I see it on the screen?
Yes, we can see.
Why don't, if you can show it on the screen, it would be easier. Last one. Okay, I am seeing Mr. Sangvi, Jignesh Sangvi, saying Apollo Hospital Group, we are working on 2 Apollo Hospital projects, happy to collaborate. Well, look, how you back end the operations of a hospital is something you would know. The question for us is whether you feel this is something which would be facilitated by a line of credit, or whether you feel it's a project which is good enough to go commercial. We have it's not like we have fixed things in lines of credit. I mean, lines of credit are very flexible instruments. We look to see what does the partner country want, what are their priorities, what is our interest in terms of accessing that sector. And I would certainly say health, hospitals, pharma, medical products, devices, all of that, because as I said, it also aligns with the Big Four agenda. So wish you well if you are already actively talking to people, but if there's some support you need, let us know.
Thank you, sir, for your approach and broad guidance on the way forward on B2B linkages. Sir, you mentioned about Joint Trade Committee meeting. The last committee meeting was held in 2018, and when things get a little better, we'll have the new session, the next session of the JTC meeting scheduled at the level of trade ministers. And all the points raised at today's interaction are are rather high-profile items at the JTC meeting. And as we go along, as part of our preparations for the JTC meetings, we'll remain in touch, if not in full-fledged meetings, but virtual meetings between the High Commission and the IBF. We'll stay in touch, and we'll prepare for that together. And as and when we have the dates for the next meeting, we'll share it with you, and your inputs will go into our preparations for the next Trade and Economic Committee meeting, which is going to comprehensively look at all the points that you raised today. With these words, thank you, sir. Once again, it was indeed a privilege for us and also the members of the Indian Business Forum in Kenya, and we look forward to working with them towards promoting greater B2B linkages. Thank you.